What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes always catch up with the big names in our sport. Joining us now is one of the best coaches to ever do it, Eric Del Fierro from the Alliance Gym in San Diego. And now he's taking his talents to El DF. He's in Mexico City, where that new UFC PI that's been popping that everyone's raving about, he's down there grooming the future generation, right, Coach? Is that kind of what the role is, or are you overseeing the whole gym, or are you just focusing on fighter development? What exactly are you doing down there?
Yeah, all of it over the whole Performance Institute down here. So yeah, fighter development. We have an academy, which is a development program that's existed in It's existed in China at the UFC PI China, and now we're down in Mexico doing the same thing. The development program's been in existence for a couple of years. I think we did it at Greg Jackson's for a while, and I think also did it at King's MMA for a while. But now that the PI's down here, we're doing it here.
Was that your idea when you wanted to transition? I know a lot of things were happening at one time. For one, COVID did a number on a lot of us, and I think that's maybe what started to bring the closure of the Alliance Gym. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And then I also remember you know, because we've caught up with you over time, you're closing the end of your firefighting career in San Diego. So was it your idea? Did you approach them, or did they come to you?
So actually, the UFC Performance Institute in Mexico has been in talks to have this built for a couple of years. I think the first time I heard about it was about 6 years ago, maybe or so, and it was mentioned to me back then through Dana, through Forrest. And it was just an idea at the time, but they just mentioned to me in passing. There was nothing concrete. Then I remember they started building, or there were negotiations for a building in Mexico City, and they had asked me to consider, the possibility that it was going to happen. Then it fell through completely. I don't remember exactly why. I don't remember if it was building construction or something going on, or they lost the lease of the building, and then it just stopped. Then I didn't hear anything about it till about midway through COVID or after COVID is when they started talking about that it was going to happen, that it was going through, that they had found a building. And at the same time, COVID was happening, and for us in California, it was a zoo, and it was just a mess. We were still being charged rent at our gym, but we couldn't have anybody in there. We were closed about 7 or 8 months. We're still sneaking in there and having guys fight, and it was just a mess. We ended up having to close shortly after that.
Wow. Well, that's great that they almost like handpicked you, and they had the vision to start doing this 6 years ago. And why not? I mean, you've coached world champions, and you've coached many different diversity of fighters, Latinos, blacks, whites, heavyweights, lighter weights, everything. And I think that when someone can kind of like manage personalities, that's the type of person I think that can probably run a gym like yours, and it comes with the respect because you got the accolades too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I always had a relationship with Forrest too, and Forrest was the visionary with this whole Performance Institute, and he's done a great job growing the institutes. And like I said, he kept me in the loop of what was happening, and then, like anybody else, I had to apply for it. I think everything just happened, and it kind of pointed me in that direction. You know what I mean? Like I said, with the gym closing, once I closed Alliance, I was still coaching out of other gyms, and I was reaching my 30th year, I think, at the fire department as well. So I was up for retirement if I wanted to. I could have stayed another 10 years, but it just, everything kind of was pointing me in this direction. So I wasn't against it completely. And then I started really, really considering it and thinking, okay, I'm going to leave San Diego to go live in Mexico City. Went from 4.5 million people in San Diego to 22 million people in Mexico City. So it was a big deal, but it's been great. I love it.
I was just about to ask you that because you left America's finest city. It has a nickname, man. Everyone loves San Diego, but yet you're down there in Mexico City. Tell us about it. Have you adapted well? What's your level of Español, by the way?
Mi español es muy bueno. Hablo muy bien el español. Lo necesito practicar, pero hablo muy bien el español. My Spanish was my first language. I was born in Houston, Texas, raised in San Antonio. My family is from Mexico, so my first language was Spanish. But yeah, in Mexico City, I still need to sharpen up my Spanish for sure.
Nice. All right.
The transition to Mexico has been fun. I didn't know. I mean, I I'm not an LA person. I dislike LA. I hate the big crowds. I hate the traffic. So I didn't know if I was going to be okay dealing with that in Mexico City. But it's actually been incredible. I live about 30-minute walk from the Performance Institute. I live in the best part of town. Everything's been healthier. I mean, I think I lost 20 pounds since I got here, just biking to work every day. It's been good. It's been an incredible move, and I really, really enjoyed the process of working for the Performance Institute and growing the mixed martial arts as a whole here in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Just so you know, we're Angelinos over here. We kind of took that little stray bullet a second ago. You don't like NBA titles or Major League Baseball titles or palm trees? What's wrong with LA?
It's just crowded. It's too crowded. It's a mess. LA's a mess, man. It was too much for me.
All right.
But I was always in traffic there. Here, it's like, everything's biking everywhere, walk everywhere. So it's a little bit different. I want to say it's more like a New York type of lifestyle, where LA not necessarily that much. LA is still like jumping in a car.
Is there going to be a huge wave of Mexican talent? And if so, give us an idea. Like, is this thing packed with kids that have talent, or is it moving slow? Like, what can we expect of the future of mixed martial arts out of Mexico?
Well, we're growing. I think the deal with the Performance Institute is to give the talent that's down here, not just Mexico, but all Latin America, which is the big focus in Mexico, is give them all the resources that UFC athletes currently have at the Performance Institute, meaning like strength and conditioning, nutritional programming, showing them how to cut weight the right way, and how to train, how to periodize their training schedules. It's giving them the resources that you wouldn't have necessarily, at a local gym. We even had to go to different gyms to get our strength and conditioning, to get our periodization. So having everything in-house, the question is, can we get them to the UFC faster? Can we develop talent to get them to the next level faster? And that's the goal, and make sure that they just don't get to the UFC, but they actually have a longer career in the UFC, not just go in and win contenders and never win again. The goal is to get them in and have them fight a couple contracts, or at least that's my goal.
What about the feeling towards mixed martial arts in Mexico? I know that it's grown. I think a lot of people are liking it, but that older generation that grew up on boxing, have they come around on the sport yet?
I think the growth of MMA speaks for itself in Mexico. You know what I mean? Every UFC event down here is sold out. Do you guys remember my show, Total Combat, that I used to do about a decade plus ago, 15 years ago? So, I mean, I sold events out through Mexico City. Mexico, as Dana says, it's a fighting country. They love their combat sports. And every Mexico UFC that I've been to has been sold out. So I think it speaks for itself. I think they're embracing it. I think it's growing, and it's still growing down here. I think you're going to see it more and more now. We're going to Guadalajara this year, so that's going to be exciting. It's a new city other than Mexico. They've done events. I think they've done events in Monterrey and Mexico City only. So Guadalajara is a new market for them, and I think that one's going to sell out just as fast.
What would you say is the target group, age-wise? Where do you find them? Do a lot of them come to you, or do you have to come to them?
Both. So right now we're using relationships with coaches, relationships with managers to scout talent early, get them on our radar. We put them on a list, and then once a year we have a combine where we recruit some of the best talent and have them kind of compete against each other. And out of, let's say, 40 athletes, about 20 end up staying for the academy. So that's our goal right now. Since we're going on our 15 months of existence now, we're growing into the next step of more community outreach, reaching out to other MMA gyms, pass on the information that the Performance Institute has to increase the level of training. And there's some real talented gyms out there. There's some real talented coaches, obviously, that have fighters in the UFC. And now it's helping smaller gyms as well grow with us, giving them, education on periodization, on injury prevention, on nutrition, on how to cut weight, those type of things to help grow the sport.
What would you say? I don't want to use the word reality check, but like when you moved out there, what was like the biggest shock to you? Whether it was cultural or training, or when you got to Mexico, what shocked you the most?
Flying into Mexico City is pretty intense. I don't know if you've ever flown in down here. When you fly into Mexico City, you see how massive, just it's just a concrete jungle. It's intimidating to say the least. I think that's probably what was more shocking to me is saying, can I handle living? I've been in the U.S. my whole life, so getting used to Mexico is different. But like I said, I've loved it. My wife loves it, so it's been a great move for us.
We have grown up in the sport talking to you about fighters for a long time, coaching fighters, and we didn't get a chance to talk to you with Dominick Cruz having his last fight planned out, and it didn't work out the way he wanted. But his legacy is just so grand in our sport. Can you maybe share with us the biggest way that he stood out for you in our sport and for you personally?
I mean, he's always been a phenomenal athlete. I think Dominick's biggest strength has always been his mindset. He's never let naysayers or the crowd or influence who shows up to fight. You know what I mean? There's, like any athlete, you have doubts, you have fears. I think his mindset was he was able to overcome all those injuries and get through it. You know what I mean? And still show up to fight and still win. You know, and be at the top of the game for so many years. And I think now transitioning into something else, I think he's still embracing that mindset and willing to pass that on to up and coming fighters as well.
And he mentioned that he went down to Mexico City to train, and he was loving the young guns and their energy, you know, and obviously reconnecting with you. Do you anticipate maybe more Latin, whether they're Latin-based Mexicans, maybe after their career's done, going the route? Because I heard Mexico had plans for multiple PIs, right? Is that still the plan, or is it just one for now?
So there's only Mexico City. There's going to be one Performance Institute. There's a couple of Performance Institutes that are being built in other countries, and they're looking at Abu Dhabi, Australia, and a couple others. But that's the goal, to spread the Performance Institute to different countries. I think Mexico's only going to have one.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Dominick, he was out here. He's been out here probably as long as I have. He comes and trains with the guys, and has been a real supporter of the sport down here and helping the athletes that are here in the academy grow as well.
Talk about you mentioned as you fly in, already the culture shock was starting because you could see this massive city. But when fighters go down there, like Fabricio Verdum, I remember had a 2-month camp. There's the water, the nutrition, the air pollution, the altitude. There's so much to adapt to. But can you talk about which one of those is really the real thing that you have to look out for? And what's the adequate time for a fighter to come out there and perform? I know Joe Pyfer had something recently, and I don't know what it was, but
I think he had some food poisoning. I think that's what I read. I'm not 100% sure what he had, but I did read something about his food poisoning. I mean, honestly, the hardest thing and the benefit is the altitude. We're at 7,400 feet elevation.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're planning on coming out here, you gotta really give yourself 2 to 3 weeks of just acclimation, mm-hmm. and then your real training starts. Because you can't catch your breath. You can't, trying to jump in right into sparring. It's just not it. So you got to give yourself a good 2 to 3 weeks before you actually start a good training camp. So I tell people, if you're going to come out here and do a camp, I would give yourself 6 to 8 weeks. If your camp is usually around at about a 6-week time frame and you're going to operate in 6 weeks, then give yourself 3 more weeks on top of that just to acclimate. But yeah, the benefit has been the altitude. The air pollution contamination fluctuates up and down. How much does it affect you? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you on that thing because the altitude is really what gets you. That's really where it makes a difference. And most of the athletes that fought in this last UFC event in Mexico City got out of here pretty early, at least a month early, to acclimate to the altitude. And you could see the guys that did and guys that didn't. It makes a world of a difference for sure.
Are your doors open, like the one here in Vegas, to anyone on the UFC roster? You'll feed them, you'll rehab them, train them, massages. Does it work like the one out here?
100%. The only difference here is the academy is a priority, but UFC athletes are still, we're still treating them the same way. They book their sessions. They want to use training mats, octagon, whatever. They still book their sessions the same way. They come to the front desk. They book whatever hours they're going to be training. They need physical therapy. They need nutritional consults or strength conditioning. They still book just exactly the same way they do in Vegas. These Performance Institute, we all talk to each other. We're globally connected. So if somebody's coming in from Vegas, they'll let us know. And if somebody did their programming, let's say on the strength and conditioning side, they'll talk to our strength and conditioning department here and get organized and make sure they're working together to give the athlete the best service.
Let's not put any names on them, but let's see. I'm going to give you a description, and I'm going to call him a killer, young killer. How many young killers do you currently have? All right. But what I mean by that is the potential to fight for a title, maybe be a world champion, somewhere in that 23 to 28 range, and really, really has the talent and dedication. Like, are we talking like, oh, there's one or two, we have about 10? Like, what's that future hold?
Well, the academy class is about 24 people right now, and they're set up in tiers. Our tier A guys, which are the ones that are UFC ready, or we think they're ready for contenders, I think we have about 4 of them going to the UFC 2 contenders this year.
Okay.
And then, that's when you really, like I tell the athletes here, that's when we really find out the level of where we're at. Because here they're dominating, they're beating everybody up. They're monsters here. It's when you get to the UFC, you find out really where you're at. They're super talented. Will they be a champion? It depends on how you progress once you're out of here. Do you keep the same training regimen you had here? Do you take everything you learn here and keep it going? That's the question. You know what I mean? It's a discipline that you learn here. Can you keep it going? Anybody can be a champion if they're disciplined enough, if they have the talent and focus to stay on the track. And that's our goal here. Is we want to get them. We want to give them the start that they need. And obviously, once they become UFC athletes, they can still use the PI. The question is, do they follow the plan? Do we have a couple of killers? Yeah, we've got a couple of killers. And we'll see how they progress.
What's another country that's sending, where a lot of athletes seem to be arriving from, that are good quality?
So we got a couple. We got a couple guys from. We got a couple people from Argentina, and we got a couple people from Peru, and those are the 2 other countries. Ecuador's got a couple people here that have developed a couple real good prospects.
Have the Peruvian guys told you, "Hey, coach, let's take you out for some Peruvian food"?
No, they haven't.
Have you had Peruvian food, coach?
I don't think I've had. What's the
It's the best cuisine on earth.
Mexico City. We're not in Peru.
Well, yeah, but when you were in the United States, you had Mexican food, right?
What's the difference? I don't even know there's a difference.
Okay, well, all right. We're homering. We're Peruvian. Our mom's Peruvian, so we grew up with Peruvian food. But it's like literally one of the best cuisines in the world. So just get down there on our recommendation.
I got a kid here, Massetti. He's a 55er. I'm going to ask him. He's Peruvian. We'll see what he recommends.
But remember this day.
Right here.
Remember this day, because you're going to go back to it. You're going to go, I'm going to remember the day that Junkie Radio changed my life. Day, okay?
All right. I'll let you know. I'll let you know how it goes.
Hey, a few of the San Diego guys had some pretty good, had a pretty good weekend. Phil Davis started this whole thing because we had him on a few weeks ago, and we mentioned Alliance. We mentioned Coach Del Fierro. He says he wants to get down to Mexico and get some training in, and that's what made me think of you. He had a big win, man.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on him? And then maybe pivot to Jeremy Stevens, who re-signed with the UFC, and in the losing effort, still performed at a high level, still entertained. I know those are 2 big San Diego guys for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, Phil's just a phenomenal athlete. He's always been a phenomenal athlete. I thought he did great. I thought his first round he started a little slow, but once he adjusted, landed that right hand, the fight was over. That's Phil. You know what I mean? Once he settles in, I think it's been a while. It's been almost going on 2 years since he fought, maybe a little bit longer. So it's been a while, and I don't think he missed a step. I think he's just started off a little bit slow. I think he could have been more active in the first, but he looked great. And should finish the guy, so that's great.
What'd you think of Little Heathen?
I thought he struggled a little bit with the pace of the fight. I mean, Little Heathen, he's a monster. That guy. I don't think I've had anybody that hits harder than him ever. Like in my 25 years of coaching, and he's just a monster. And that's part of the game plan. Always, hey man, just land a fight, just land one punch. Let's work from there. I think he was in the fight the whole time as always. Jeremy's a monster. He's in the fight. I think he could have done a little bit more to create some volume in there and get that guy's respect, because the one punch that he landed exploded that other kid's face. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
hats off to the other kid. That kid was tough. He just kept coming, and it just took control of the pace of the fight. But Jeremy's he's always dangerous. If you have a chin, you can do good against him. If you don't, he's gonna sleep you. I mean, that fucking right hand was impressive. But that's the game, setting the pace of the fight and then taking control of it. And the other kid was able to do that.
I'd like to see Heathen get one more fight in Guadalajara because I know he loves the Mexican community. His wife's Mexican. He loves Mexican food. And I'd like to see him fight in Guadalajara against either Zellhuber or Torres. What do you think of my matchmaking skills, Coach?
So Huber's from Mexico City. I think you have good matchmaking skills. I think I'm going to not comment on that fight.
Ah, okay. Hey, one last thing here on the way out. Brandon Moreno, he took a step back from the sport at one time, and it seemed like when you're a big Mexican sports icon, there comes a lot of pressure with that because everyone in Mexico loves their soccer stars, their boxing stars. And now with the growth of MMA, obviously they got behind him. He was a champion. But can you talk about that pressure? Just how big is it for some of these Mexican athletes that are now starting to find success in our sport, along with the fact that the sport is blowing up in Mexico? How big is all this?
Well, I think that's where you know where what it is to be a champion, because the psychology of it is not just showing up to fight; it's showing up to fight under pressure. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part for any athlete is being able to manage all the noise from the outside and still going in and performing. Brandon got cut from the UFC, and then he came back into the UFC and then had a huge run into it. And balancing that part of being an icon. One thing about every other country that's not the US is every country really, really gets behind their star athletes, and they're going to put pressure on you to succeed and show us that you're the champ. And it's a blessing and it's a curse for some guys. It's what every athlete wants. You want to make the big money, you want to make big paydays. You got to move that meter. And when countries get behind you, you have to embrace it. But yeah, with it comes a lot of pressure for sure. I think Brandon did well. I think Brandon's doing great with it.
I think you would agree that the biggest combat sports athlete out of Mexico right now is Canelo, and it's probably been a boxer for the last 100 years. But with the growth of MMA, can a future Mexican world champion possibly be bigger than a boxing champion at some point? Are we close to that?
I think so for sure, 100%. I mean, there's so many things now that we have access to in promoting an athlete, social media being one of the biggest ones that's how fans interact and connect closer to an athlete than they ever did before. You know what I mean? And I think for sure, I mean, Canelo's a beast, you know what I mean? He's loved by his country. So it's hard to compare somebody like that, but you just never know when that superstar is going to show up. It's a combination of skill, talent, and charisma, you know what I mean? And it's when you get that guy who, and the country gets behind you and he has success after success, that's, it's a combination. You can't deny that there's athletes that can do that.
Can I ask you one more personal one?
Sure.
You were a firefighter for many years, and I'm sure there's a high in saving someone's life, their home, their lives, or whatever. You were also in the corner of many people that won belts, and I'm sure that there's a high from seeing someone succeed at the highest level. What is your high now with the job that you have now? Like, what's brought you a lot of happiness? Now that you're running that PI in Mexico.
I think the biggest thing about coaching is that you're always giving yourself a part of you to an athlete, and you're connecting to them and you're helping them grow. Whether they're with me or not, whether the athletes I coached in the past, I know there's a part of me that influenced who that person is and who that person is going to be and what they're going to do in the sport. And there's nothing more satisfying than helping somebody else reach their goal and helping them grow. And that's what wakes me up every morning. And that's why I'm still in this sport. I literally love to change a person's trajectory and just show them they can be bigger than they were yesterday.
Man, that's awesome. What a great answer. Coach, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for giving us some time here on MMA Junkie Radio. We're happy for you. We're keeping an eye on you.
Thank you.
Social media. And I'm sure that new wave of fighters that you have your fingerprint on, it's coming. We can't wait.
Yeah, I'll check in with you guys during Contenders. I'll let you know who's coming up from down here.
Nice.
Yeah, cool. And if you make it to Vegas, hopefully we'll see you too.
I'll be out there sometime in August, I think.
Okay. All right, Coach. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Take care.